the law of inner alignment. The inner actuality determines the world without. This is the 7-Minute Daily Focus, day 33 of 365. Do not hurry, do not strain. Establish the inner rhythm. Today's focus, the law of inner alignment. The inner actuality determines the world without. Day 33 is about alignment, not mechanical adjustment, not measuring, not force. Alignment is timeless. It is the still seat of the self held without interruption. Most people do not drift because they lack desire. They drift because they allow appearance to become authority. They allow circumstance to define their inner atmosphere. But the teaching is higher. The inner actuality determines the world without. The unseen precedes the seen. The inner agreement precedes the physical report. Alignment is the quiet orientation of identity. If identity is who you are, and subjective state is the atmosphere you live from, then alignment is the steadiness that holds both true. It is not effort, it is not emotion, it is presence. The inward consistency of actuality. Wattles urged, hold the thought and stick to it. I concur with elevation. Hold the inner actuality as already complete, not as wished, but as actuality. Most people begin from the outside. They ask, what do I see? They ask, what do they say? They ask, what does circumstance report? But alignment begins within. You do not ask appearance what is true. You hold actuality as true. Hill wrote of definiteness of purpose. I concur with refinement. Definiteness is the inner steadfastness of identity. A mind aligned does not wander. An identity aligned does not negotiate with contradiction. Consider this carefully. What you tolerate inwardly becomes what you live outwardly. What you normalize becomes what you repeat. What you accept as ordinary becomes your atmosphere. Alignment is the return to the true seat within, the still point where the self remains whole. Pause now. Close the eyes of the senses. Shift into the first sense. Notice the place within you that does not move. That stillness is alignment. When identity is aligned, subjective state becomes clear, the atmosphere becomes pure, and translation becomes straightforward. Reality is not demanded, it is reflected. Appearance is not the origin, it is the echo. Actuality is whole. Identity is the self within that wholeness. Alignment is the steady holding of that wholeness. Subjective state is the atmosphere produced, and appearance is the physical translation. Thus, the inner actuality determines the world without. Inquire today, am I letting circumstance instruct me, or am I holding actuality steady? Do not let reaction set the atmosphere. Do not let contradiction thin your presence. Return again. Remain aligned. When alignment is thin, state fractures. When alignment is strong, state becomes vivid, and the physical must correspond. A presence aligned does not panic at delay. It does not shrink in uncertainty. It does not argue with appearance, because it stands in actuality. So today, return to the still seat within. Hold identity, stabilize subjective state. Let alignment govern the atmosphere, for the atmosphere governs translation, and translation becomes appearance. Alignment is not something you create. It is something you return to. It has always been present. The still seat within has never moved. You are simply reclaiming it. The objective world shifts, it sways, it reacts, but alignment remains. It is the unmoving reference point of the self. When you are aligned, you do not chase reassurance. You do not depend on conditions. You do not require the world to agree. You stand in actuality. Wattles spoke of the poised mind. I concur with refinement. Poise is alignment. It is the quiet holding of what is already true. Hill spoke of peace of mind as power. I concur with elevation. Peace is alignment, not absence of sound, but presence unmoved. Let this teaching deepen further. Alignment governs the entire chain. Actuality within, identity held, presence sustained, subjective state stabilized, appearance translated. Do you see? The world does not instruct actuality. Actuality instructs the world. When alignment drifts, the senses become loud, reaction becomes quick, state becomes fractured, and appearance reports confusion. But when alignment is thick, the atmosphere becomes clear, the mind becomes still, identity becomes strong, and translation becomes inevitable. Alignment does not argue, alignment does not strain, alignment does not force, it simply remains. So today, in every moment, return. When emotion rises, return. When contradiction speaks, return. When delay appears, return. The still seat within is your home. Alignment is your authority. Actuality is your foundation. Alignment does not argue. Alignment does not strain. Alignment does not force. It simply remains. Walk through your day with this awareness. Do not be pulled outward. Do not be instructed by appearance. Be instructed by presence. Because appearance is always the echo, the outer is always the report, and the report always follows the atmosphere. Hold alignment, and the atmosphere becomes rich. Hold alignment, and identity becomes vivid. Hold alignment, and actuality becomes natural. Thus the teaching. The inner actuality determines the world without. Affirmation for day 33. My inner actuality is steady. My identity is aligned, my subjective state is composed, and appearance follows the still seat within.